Hello gainers, Ralphie here with some fitter philosophy, sharing my philosophy to help with the fitness in life, fitness for life, that we should never take for granted, we should never assume, and to be honest, it needs a little bit of work. It's called Stoicism. It's about finding the balance. It's about essentially being not a Sith, not a Jedi, because many people aren't, but being a sort of grey Jedi, somewhere in between, understanding the need for balance and harmony, because with balance comes harmony, and there is a lot to be learned from observing people who live life in the extreme. They do too much of a certain thing or simply not enough of another thing. They may take, for example, very little exercise, physical exercise, so they're extreme in their inactivity. Or they may be obsessed with alcohol, rock climbing, you know, the dangerous stuff, for the thrill of it, the adrenaline rush. And to a certain extent, we admire these people for their bravery, but they're extreme. And we also live in a society where extreme is encouraged. Extreme greed, extreme avarice, extreme beauty, extreme muscularity, extreme consumption, extreme opinions, and extreme attitudes. We are bombarded with these things, and the subliminal message is that we should be like them. We should have these extremities in ourselves. But when you examine the Stoic philosophers, and many philosophers who incorporate Stoicism into their own philosophy, like, let me see, Epicurus, good example. He's very much an advocate for relative moderation. Now, we're not talking about moderation as in have just enough but not much more. I mean, the philosophers, bless them, they do cut us a little bit of slack in our experience of life. What they're saying is, keep the balance. Be aware that we can cause ourselves pain by too much of a good thing as much as too much of a bad thing. So, for example, a great example for all you whiskey drinkers out there is that if we continue to enjoy our single malts and good quality blends, particularly if they've got an age statement, we get over familiar with alcohol. It becomes too close to us. We forget to step back and take time out. We forget to moderate our consumption. And the problems associated with heavy drinking can creep up on us. It won't happen overnight. It can happen over a space of a few years. We need to have that sensibility in our lives that we will step aside and not have too much of a good thing. Likewise, if you happen to be very extreme vegetarian, for example, too much of a good thing, rather than listening and communicating with your body, excuse me, bit of a wobbly in the camera there. I stepped on a pebble and the pebble suddenly shifted, so that's the risk of walking on beaches. However, walking in pebbly beaches is really good for helping your balance. It gives you balance practice because of the rough surface. Anyway, back to my subject. The subject of a Stoic attitude towards relative moderation to avoid the uncomfortable experiences and even damaging experiences of extreme behaviour. And it works both ways. People who are extremely good to a fault can actually damage themselves in not having the sense and sensibility to understand when they are being taken advantage of, exploited and ripped off, to the extent they could lose a lot of money, for example, and that could affect their ability to pay for healthcare in the future. or just literally to pay for a relatively decent quality of life for themselves and for those around them, family. The other thing I mentioned was extreme vegetarianism. I'm going to give you a short story here. At the gym where I go to do my training, I've had to back off recently because of high blood pressure issues, but we're getting there. Sometimes solutions to problems take time, and we need to be patient with ourselves. Excuse me, I'm going to walk down on the sand here because it's going to be easier walking now. I'm fed up with the scrunchy pebbles. That's better. Isn't it beautiful? Sunshine on a sandy beach. I'm telling you, gainers, you just can't beat it. Particularly when it's January and it's supposed to be freezing cold and miserable. It's in the darkest and cloudiest months that we appreciate the sun and its presence the most. And of course you need sunshine for growing vegetables, for vegetarians. And one of the guys at the gym, bless him, nice guy, but he decided that for January he would go onto a strict vegetarian diet, which he has, cutting out meat, cutting out fish, cutting out all dairy. And within 2 weeks he was feeling very unsettled and uncomfortable in his shell with himself, and this ultimately resulted in a rash breaking out on his scalp. And he basically, at that point, he's listening to his body, and his body's telling him, no, you can't be 100% vegetarian and vegan, you can't do it. And I think one reason is probably that he's become aware, indirectly, that in an awful lot, particularly of supermarket vegetables, there's so many pesticides, herbicides and toxicides. Let's just put them all under one umbrella. Toxicides in the vegetarian's diet, that without the absence, in the absence of other foods, they become, these toxicities from the production of the food become more visible, more noticeable to the body, more acute, and then the body reacts. So he's now, bless him, become pescatarian. He's found a middle distance. He's not eating meat, but he is eating fish. And he's been stoic about it. He's attempted something, discovered he has to adjust, and he's done so successfully, and he's back in the track again. His skin issue has cleared up. And this is the thing about Stoicism. We don't need philosophers. They're handy, they're useful. It's good to read the works of Marcus Aurelius, for example. And he is an excellent exponent of Stoicism. But it's often what's described as the little common sense things in our life to avoid extreme pleasure, extreme pain, extreme risk, but we can still enjoy the pleasures, tolerate the pain, moderate the risk, and have very successful and affirming, enriching lives. And there you have it, gainers. The Stoic application done in moderation. We don't have to be superheroes. All we have to do is proactively, consciously, willfully, deliberately live and learn from the experience so that we can develop over time and don't stagnate, so that we don't slip into existence. I shall now leave you. Well, the tide's going out fast now because we're on the sandy bit and it's nice and even. There are little dogs coming to say hello. Hello, little doggy. Oh, he wants to lie down. He wants to lie down in the puddle. I'll give you a treat. Oh, have you got a ball? Have you? Oh, that's fantastic. Do you want me to throw your ball for you? Do you? I should throw your ball for you. No. Doesn't want me to throw the ball for him or her.